It is official. Mauricio Pochettino is the new manager of the U.S. men's national team. Mo, this will be the man who leads the U.S. through the 2026 World Cup that the U.S. is hosting alongside Canada and Mexico. Why was he the right man for the job?
Well, change had to happen, first and foremost. You can give Greg Berhalter his flowers and what he did to restore belief and confidence after what was a really dark period in U.S. men's national team history after not qualifying. And so we've moved past that now, and we needed a man to come in and kind of now take us to that next step. That next step being getting the best out of this player pool. Like, we can talk about how much talent these players, I was almost going to say these kids, but I'm not even going to give them the youth anymore because they are more mature now. But finding a way to get the best out of these players in a short timeline, that's the biggest challenge, I would say, is the short timeline that we have with the World Cup approaching 2026. But he's the right hire because he's a man that will come in and give no Fs. He'll rattle the feathers of these players. He'll hold them accountable. He'll reinstill. One thing that's always been kind of reflective about the U.S. men's national team is we were bastards to play against. Whether we were the best team in a game or not, we were going to compete. There were certain things that you could walk away from that game knowing, okay, that those three boxes will always be checked. Now, whether we were the best team from a skill standpoint, whether we had players who could change the game like that, the snap of your fingers, that was hit or miss. At times we did, at times we didn't. But we were always going to be a team that we worked our backsides off. We were combative. We respected and appreciated every time we put on that jersey, and especially when we played at home. And I don't want to say it's the whole group, but over the last stretch of time, it feels like that's kind of crept out of this group for whatever reason. So they need a new, fresh voice to come in there, a voice that they're going to respect, a voice that's going to come in and say, I don't really care who you are as an individual. It's about this crest on your shirt, not the name on the back of this jersey. And in Mauricio Pochettino, I think we have a guy who will come in and command that kind of respect. And you heard Christian Pulisic talking after the game. He talked about the way the mentality of this team has changed. He talked about the lack of culture, the lack of finding ways to win games. And when you watch that team, you feel that. You see that and you feel that. And I think that's the biggest part that hurts as a former player, but even as just a fan of this team, is that you know they have quality, but the things that you don't need to even teach, effort, motivation, at times it looks lethargic. And I don't know. I just felt like Mauricio Pochettino, I wasn't even sure that was a name that we could attract. So I'm excited that he has welcomed this opportunity, and I look forward to seeing him in the next window and what he can do with this team.
Mo, what you're saying is that this team lacks a grittiness that they were known for, that the U.S. men's national team always had. Bradley, when you have a new manager, how does he get the grit back?
Well, we've seen him do it. What I like about this appointment, Jill, is that I've seen Mauricio Pochettino work well with potential. When I saw him at Southampton, it was a team full of young, good players, like the likes of Virgil van Dijk, Mane, Adam Lallana. These guys were all coachable players at the time, hadn't been to the big stage, and they ended up going there. When he went to Spurs, I hate Spurs, but he went to Spurs. We're a team with a lot of potential. They end up fighting for the Premier League, getting to was it the Champions League semi-final?
Champions League final.
Final. They get to the final. Hard for me to say. But he's a coach that can coach potential and coach up. And I think with this US national team, there's a lot of potential in there. A lot of players playing in the right leagues now, playing at a high level. He could get them to that next level.
They're in the right leagues. They're playing at a high level. We need to see players like Yunus Musa, who had a terrible window. He has to improve. And it's been a struggle for him since the 2022 World Cup. We need to, Tyler Adams has to be healthy. Gio Reyna has to be healthy, especially Gio, in fact, because Mauricio Pochettino tends to play a 4-2-3-1. He likes a double pivot. He likes to have a guy who's more of a true number 10 than what Greg Berhalter used. Other than that, I think the tactics will be similar, and I like that. I think that the sort of the foundation that Berhalter laid with how we want to play, I think is a modern version of the game, and I think it suits our talent. The problem was it became too static in transitioning from one phase to another. And we would beat a line of pressure, and then instead of pressing the other team with the ball and trying to create something out of it, we would just sort of snap back into our pre-scripted build-ups. Well, I think the foundation will stay the same under Mauricio Pochettino, but I think once we beat that first line of pressure, we'll go. I think there'll be a little bit more initiative and endeavor with the ball. If a defense gets scrambled, we're not going to let that go to waste. We're going to try to punish teams for that. And I think that is the one big thing tactically that's been missing from the U.S. But to Mo's point and to Brad's point, if the mentality isn't right, and I know it's a cliche, and I know it's like you can't really measure it, but you know it when you see it. If the mentality isn't right, the tactics won't matter at all. These players have to play like they mean it again, and that's what Christian Pulisic was talking about in that post-game presser after New Zealand, and every single word he said, and he pointed the finger at himself as well. Every single word he said was correct, and I hope that everybody in that locker room heard him.
Pochettino will be introduced at a press conference. Go ahead, Mo. But he will be introduced at a press conference in New York this Friday. Go ahead.
And to Joel's point, the thing, and I'm glad Christian, I agree with you. I'm glad Christian said everything that he said after the game. The thing that really kind of like threw me off about this group is this is the last window that you have before, well, they didn't know that, but a new manager has been put out there, right? So this window almost is an audition.
Yeah.
Is an audition to say, hey, moving forward, we got new eyes on us. We have a new voice that's going to be talking to us. I want to use this window to say my name needs to be inked into that team sheet. And I'm watching these games and I'm going, do we not recognize the scenario? Do we not really understand what's in front of us? You have a new manager coming in. At the club level, you always see that. You get that boost the next game with the interim. When a manager gets fired, you get that boost from the players and whatever. But for whatever reason, that didn't translate. And these are games on home soil. Like the motivation going into both of these games from a new manager coming in standpoint, the Canada game had its own significance, and then New Zealand, like what? Really? So I don't know, man. Like I'm excited for this next window. I'm excited for Pochettino to get to have a chance to really get in there and just change things because the World Cup is coming quick. It's going to be the biggest event that this country, this world has seen. And I don't want to walk away from that tournament feeling like I felt during Copa America.
22 months until the World Cup in 2026. Pochettino reportedly his first game on the sidelines for the U.S. men's national team will be October 12th in a friendly against Panama. For Bradley Wright Phillips, Matt Doyle, and Mo Adu, I'm Jillian Zakovitz.